of NEWRA. I'm Mary McKee. I am the new president, and I'd like to introduce our other officers, starting right here.
Thank you, guys. My second term as vice president.
I'm Jen Crampton, and serving my second term as secretary.
I'm Carol Del Greco. I'm new to NEWRA. I'm the sergeant at arms, and I look forward to meeting all of you.
I am Angelina, and I'm treasurer for the second term.
And I have a nice announcement to make, and that is that Ford Cavallari, our immediate past president, has just been named the chairperson of ADCO, which is the Alliance of Downtown Civic Organizations. So that's wonderful for Ford and a wonderful connection for NEWRA as well. And Ford's not able to be with us tonight, but he's going to continue to work with us on the important issues that ADCO is working on, and also the wonderful website which he's developed, which is such an important resource. And although Ford is absent tonight, I would like to just send some loud applause his way. Just a few housekeeping things. If anybody is a member and hasn't signed in, please do so you can get your ballot to vote, and we can keep track of the status. Also would like to remind you that our wonderful Matt Conti is here taping us, so everybody. And also, if anybody is here from the press, if they could just stand up and identify themselves. Matt is from northendwaterfront.com. And any either public officials or representatives of public officials.
Hi everyone, Patrick Lyons from State Representative Aaron Michaels' office. He's on his way, he'll be here in a little bit, but in the meantime, he's stuck with me. So.
Okay.
Now, just a few remarks to introduce myself as the president and some thoughts that I have about the organization. And I guess the first thing I'd like to call your attention to is the name of the organization, North End Waterfront Residents Association. And the point being that we may live in different parts of this neighborhood, but we all have a common interest in keeping and preserving the livability of our neighborhood that we all love so much. And so I think it's so important that we all work together, that we realize that some of us, we may have different priorities, but that doesn't mean we can't join together. That we remember that when we join together, we are stronger. And we need to really be sensitive to each other's issues, because if you live in the middle of the neighborhood where you are worried about people screaming outside your window at 2 a.m., then what's being developed on waterfront may seem less of a priority. And similarly, if you're on the waterfront and some huge development is being proposed and it's not taking into consideration rising seas or anything like that, you might wonder what's the big deal about the noise. But again, I think we have to think of the other person's point of view and really try to remember that we might have different priorities, but ultimately it's about our neighborhood. So, and if we stick together, again, we can really accomplish a lot. So, again, we have to remember not to let others divide us, because that's what happens. People who want to exploit our neighborhood will try to divide us and try to make use of our differences. We can't let them do that. The other thing is that I think these meetings are a good opportunity to find out what's important to your neighbors, find out a little bit about your neighbors. So I try to get people not to just come for that one issue you're interested in and then leave. try to stay, try to hear what your neighbors have to say, because if you do just come for your one part that you're interested in, people notice that, and that is something that divides us. I'd also like to mention that this is NEWRA's 20th year, and I'd just like to mention some of our past successes, and I'm looking forward to our future successes. But one of our early successes was Battery Wharf, and NEWRA was the group that put together a working group on Battery Wharf, and as a result of that, it's a much less intrusive, much less massive project than was originally proposed. So again, I'm grateful I wasn't part of NEWRA then. I'm grateful to those who worked on that. 585 Commercial Street would have been a massive luxury development, not a school. When I think of the traffic that we would have had if proposed to done it, well, it would turn my ear. I don't know. North Bennett Street School, we championed the swap of the buildings, and we worked to ensure that this important historic resource stayed in our neighborhood. And might be a smaller project, but I think it's really a nice resource for the neighborhood. The Armenian Park. NEWRA was a group that really advocated for that, and again, that was a situation where people from outside the neighborhood tried to exploit our differences. This is an Italian neighborhood, why do we want to have an Armenian Park? But it is a lovely little place for the neighborhood, and the fact of the matter is the people who put that in are, I think, eternally grateful to the neighbors of the North End for that. So, I think that is really pretty much it for the President's report. And I am going to move on to Dave Goggins, who is going to give the Parks and Open Spaces report in the absence of Robin Reed, who can't be with us tonight, but will be here for back for the next meeting.
Hi, everyone. The Parks and Open Spaces Committee met last Tuesday, as it says the first Tuesday of every month. There was a small handful of party volunteers who discussed the latest focus of our efforts, which is going to be repairing and improving the Prado. You may recall we already drafted a letter that we sent to the Park Commissioner and all of the elected officials last fall, outlining what we felt were the key infrastructure issues that need to be addressed within the Prado, and have requested that the city commit to doing a full-blown assessment of exactly what kind of needs and how much those needs are going to cost to really bring the condition of the Prado up to where it should be. In addition to redoubling our efforts on that, we talked about perhaps looking into some other options for outside funding for trying to get people to donate for the Prado, and we'll keep you posted on those developments as well. In Robin's capacity as our representative to the Greenway, she asked me to mention to you all that there was a focus group that met on October 29th to discuss the high tide sculpture. If any of you aren't familiar with it, it's the public outdoor sculpture that was on display for the last several months at the intersection of North and Cross Streets in front of North Bennett Street School there, the open lawn. This past on Saturday the 29th, the artists who were responsible for installing that gathered some information from participants in the focus group and are now asking us to help them by participating in a brief survey that you can do online. It's accessible through Matt's website. I think he ran a front page article on the blog today, as a matter of fact, on the high tides outdoor sculpture. So if you could all take the time to check that out. And if you haven't been over to the parcel I'm talking about at the end of North Street, you should go. They're going to remove it, I think, this weekend. Is it going out?
Yes.
Yeah, so try to get over there if you haven't seen it already, and please take the survey. If you have any questions, you can see me after the formal part of the meeting during the reception, or you can contact Robin, who's the chair of the Parks Committee, at robinr@newra.org. Thank you.
I'm going to ask David Marks to give the public safety report, please.
Everyone, great to see a strong turnout as always. Happy holidays. I'll keep it brief yet thorough. That makes sense. So our public safety meeting for the month was held last Thursday in this room. Part 1 crime year to date, citywide down 7%. District A1, including the North End amongst other neighborhoods, down 4% in particular. There were 7 larcenies, no known patterns amongst all those crimes. They were all due to individual circumstances, but still 7 is a bit much for my liking, to be honest. Anything is a bit too much. 1 larceny from a motor vehicle, which reminds me, please try your best not to forget about leaving your personal items in a car overnight, whether it's in the parking lot, the garage, or on the street. When you find out that someone left their car in the garage, the North End garage at 600 Commercial Street, where you have to give the keys to the valet, and you left your laptop and your iPhone, amongst other things, in the car overnight, I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt to that person and assume they forgot. But if they didn't, then I don't know what is going to take over. And there was 1 arrest for assault and battery. It was a domestic violence incident. The North End Against Drugs Family Dinner is Monday, November 21st. That's next week here at the Nazzaro Center. And one other thing that we talked about because it had just happened the night before. At 137 Endicott Street on Wednesday, November 2nd, last Wednesday. A man pulled out a knife and was waving it around. The suspect fled the area. A few hours later, at 2:30 in the morning, early that Thursday morning, the same suspect was located near Parziali's Bakery, Prince Street. No knife was found. The suspect appears to be a homeless person, especially given the fact that they provided the police with an address of 39 Boylston Street, which is the address of the St. Francis House. As always, public safety meeting, unless otherwise noted, the first Thursday of the month in this room at 6 o'clock p.m. So for next month, that will be Thursday, December 1st. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. In introducing our next committee chair, I would just like to say that Victor Bronya is a past president and a person who, fortunately for us, is unclear on the concept of retirement. And Victor goes to multiple meetings on our behalf, sometimes more than one a day, often more than one a day. And I just want to say that if Victor ever decides to retire from his retirement, we're going to be in big trouble. So in any event, Victor, I would ask you now to give us your
Well, thank you for those kind words. I did not go to a meeting last night, but Dave Kuby had covered for me. So, I didn't leave it unattended. The ZLC report that I have given for several years starts with past zoning licensing and construction committee meeting, and then tells you about the meeting to come. There was no past meeting. The October 25th meeting did not take place because there were no items to put on the agenda. However, there are 4 items on the agenda coming up on the 22nd of November, which is the Thanksgiving week. The first one is 112 to 114 Fulton Street. It's to extend a balcony. The owner of the, I guess the unit on top has purchased the unit adjacent. There is a balcony in the unit that the owner now owns, and wants to extend it to the adjacent unit. And I understand from at least one of the abutters that there have been conversations between the owner and the abutters, and they seem well pleased with the outcome of the conversation. Is that fair enough? Yours? The next one on the agenda is 8 Cooper Street. It's an existing thing. That, by the way, the attorney is Dan Toscano, so if anyone has further questions with regard to 112 to 114 Fulton Street, you can contact Dan. The next one is also Dan Toscano's 8 Cooper Street, an existing single three-story residents to add a fourth story. It will be owner-occupied. There are two related families who are moving in, according to Dan. The daughters of the owners of the Los City, thank you. And I guess it will still be a single family because they're not asking to change the use. The third one is 468 Commercial Street, 2 residential units and 1 commercial unit to be converted to 3 residential units. That will also be owner-occupied, one of the units. The person doing it is Chris Iannella, who lives on Cape Cod, if anyone wishes to get further information on that prior to the ZLC meeting.
Victor, do you know what the past commercial use was so that we may recognize?
I don't. I walked by it, and it's looking sort of not too spiffy. It's empty and kind of crummy looking, and I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
So it hasn't been a commercial.
Was it?
I'm sorry.
An office?
Could he go legal office or something like that?
Could have been. Could have been. I don't think it was a store.
So it hasn't been, it hasn't had a commercial use in quite a long time then, apparently.
Sometime, at least from the appearance of it. Yeah, it looks neglected.
Okay.
And the final one is 406 to 418 Commercial Street. Verizon wants to add antennas, and I will read exactly what it is they are seeking to do. To install an 8-foot fiberglass chimney, 4 wireless telecommunications antennas, 2 GPS antennas, and remote radio heads, together with related equipment, including a roof platform, 2 equipment cabinets, and cable runs. So that will be the last item on the agenda since I received it last from the applicant. They are being represented by Alpine Advisory Services. And if anyone wants to contact them, let me know. I'll give you the contact information. Finally, I want to mention that the municipal harbor plan that has been dangling over the heads of our community for several years, the BPDA says that they had 41 meetings of the advisory committee. The public comment period ends on December 2nd, but the draft municipal harbor plan on which one is expected to comment is going to be changed. There will be revisions to the draft. I exchanged emails with the BPDA today, and they have not posted it because they're waiting for some information of some sort, unexplained, from the state. So when the state gives them the information, presumably they will amend the draft plan, and we will have to write our comments by December 2nd. I hope they post it soon.
And I hope we see the revised plan before the comment deadline.
Before the
And
comment.
that they also then extend the comment deadline. But it's just very strange so far how they've been dealing with this.
Well, I asked them specifically if the comment deadline was likely to be extended, and they said no. And were unable to tell me when their amended plan was
So we've got to
posted.
look at the current plan very carefully soon and pull together some comments on that. And just ignore the fact that it may be changed a little later or deal with that later then. This is craziness.
And at your request, that will be added to the CLC agenda. We will discuss it after the
Great,
4 items that I mentioned.
thanks.
That is the CLC report for tonight.
Thank you, Victor. We have a new ad hoc committee, which another past president, Stephanie Hogue, has agreed to chair, which is to foster more volunteerism within our membership. And I'm going to ask Stephanie to give a little presentation on that.
Good evening, everybody. Those of you who were members when I was president probably remember I was big on clipboards and passing them around to get people to sign up. So you'll be seeing a lot of that this coming year. Mary mentioned our past and some of our accomplishments, and this is to help us prepare for the future of NEWRA. How are we going to stay informed and involved in our neighborhood? She also mentioned 585, and that was a project that was very much on our horizon when I first joined NEWRA. It was the first thing that I was involved in working on. And it's true that it eventually was a building that we could use to expand the Elliott School, and that's great, but we couldn't know then that that's what the use would be. But we were successful in preventing a development that would have had, I think, the highest tower for the luxury condominiums, and it was a multi-tower proposition, was about 80 feet. It would have set a very bad precedent if it had gone forward for this neighborhood. And we were successful in doing something that's very important. We protected the neighbors who look out towards Charlestown Harbor. We protected their view, and we helped them protect their property values, which is something that doesn't get talked about very much, but it should be considered when these things are going on. So I'm going to be making a pitch tonight for the ZLC committee that Victor chairs, that I'm going to be getting more actively involved with myself. I'll describe a couple of the things that we're looking for, and then I'll just start this around the room, and if you feel like you can help us out with any of those, please sign up. If you don't sign up tonight, but you change your mind, we will let you come to the meeting and participate on the 22nd. Obviously, you can tell from Victor's reports, there's a lot of coordination and back and forth between the committee and the applicants before you ever get to hear what they have to say. We want to make sure that they have done their abutter notifications, that the abutters are all aware of the public meetings where they can come and speak, and that we have a clear understanding in writing, copies of the applications of exactly what they want to do before we present it to you for a vote. So that's one thing that needs to happen, and if you feel that you would be willing to get involved in the coordination and communication with the applicants, that's something we're looking for. We also, after the vote, have to send an advisory letter telling the appropriate agency what the vote was here at NEWRA. Do we oppose it or do we not object? And sometimes we'll add a little bit about, did you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Sometimes we'll add a little bit about issues that were raised and discussed so that they can get a sense of what the concerns were that the neighborhood had. So that's something else that we could use help with, just drafting up the letter. And of course, some of it is pretty boilerplate, and we'll be working on templates so that you don't have to come up with the whole thing from scratch every time. Finally, I want to mention that we are going to try a change in how the applicants are presented here in this meeting, that the members of the ZLC committee going forward are going to chair the application discussions. So we'll also need some people who are comfortable getting up in front of the room like I'm doing now and chairing the discussion. And we'll go over what we would expect you to be doing, and you'll get a sense of what's going to happen with that next month when we'll be presenting some of the applications. Or I should say, the following month, because we may not have them all next month. Does anybody have any questions about any of that? Okay, I'll start the clipboard. I look forward to seeing some names on it. You're welcome. Okay. Thanks, everybody. Oh, I have to turn it over now to Cheryl Del Greco, who is going to talk about a new committee that she's interested in.
So, thank you. We wanted to start a digital committee, digital engagement committee, because we'd like to do a new logo for NEWRA. So if anybody has any design experience, or if anyone has a friend who would like to volunteer to help us create a new logo for NEWRA, and maybe update the website a little bit. We'd like to also start using an email blast service so that you'll get really nice, clean emails about Victor's committee and Stephanie's committee meetings and just various things that we want to update you on. So it'll be really fast and easy, and it'll be laid out really clearly for you. So we have a clipboard that Stephanie has prepared, and if anyone would like to help out on this, it would be greatly appreciated. I'll just start passing it this way. If you know anybody who wants to volunteer, it would be terrific.
Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Can I suggest that you include Matt and myself or any other meeting in the local area to sit down at your first meeting and Just to give you our expertise.
Sure, that'd be great, thank you. Yeah,
Thanks, Phil,
Not
that's a
that I
great
need to speak to
suggestion.
you, but I did.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We were going to just have a brief discussion of ideas on priorities for the coming year. And I also want to mention that Aaron Michaelowitz is going to be with us and talk about some of the things that he's working on, which may fit in with what some of our priorities are, but I haven't Aaron's quite here yet. So I'm wondering if there's anyone who would like to start the discussion or make a suggestion as to something that they think that we should be working on during the coming year, that we should be making a priority.
Well, we've got a list here, right?
Yeah.
And
So-
there are, this list relates to things that are actually happening and that we need to keep track of, that we have been keeping track of. And it would be great if more newer members helped keep track of these by attending some of the meetings. But the first one, traffic and public transportation, I suspect that many of you have noticed the increase in traffic congestion, the increase in public transportation crush capacity on the subway trains over the last, even just the last 6 months. That traffic has increased tremendously just in the last 6 months, and I suspect it's going to continue to go in that direction as more and more projects are built in the area. I also think we're seeing a lot of traffic coming in from Logan Airport. I travel every afternoon from work in Chelsea through the Sumner Tunnel to Boston, and it was up until about 6 months ago, clear sailing all the way through the tunnel and into Boston, no problem getting back to the north end. Well, that has changed tremendously. There's an enormous amount of traffic that's going through the Sumner Tunnel from Logan Airport. I suspect that might partly be because the Ted Williams Tunnel has gotten, the congestion in that has gotten worse and worse, and now the taxis, for instance, have just given up on the Ted Williams Tunnel, and now they're starting to use the Sumner Tunnel, which puts an enormous amount of additional traffic up on our streets, on North Washington Street and Wood Chariton Street, and all of that. In the meantime, the DRN and BTD have been conducting meetings on the North Station Mobility Action Plan. We thought it was going to be a traffic study, a transportation study, but now they're calling it a mobility action plan, which will also deal with pedestrian movements and maybe bicycles and other things. It turns out not to be a very comprehensive plan. They're looking at just a few discrete changes and wondering which of those should go first. I think they're listed up to, or they're willing to implement up to about 4 discrete changes, none of which are going to change the gridlock that we're experiencing now. But anyway, those meetings have been happening. I don't know when the next meeting is.
Well, you were at the last
just recently. No, I stopped attending because I thought they were a waste of time. But if anybody can pay attention to that process, have you been going at any of the
I
additional?
haven't been getting the emails, I don't know why.
The 15th at
And
6:30.
of course, well, at one meeting,
Who's coordinating this, David?
it's BRA and BTD.
Okay.
They've been doing this.
So if people want us to find out about that,
They can go onto they can Google,
go onto the
the
website.
North Station Mobility Action Plan, will
Okay.
probably come up. At the
Matt,
first,
do you know
There's-
something?
Well, there's a meeting next Tuesday, the 15th at 6:30 p.m. The meetings are being held at the West End Museum on
Next Tuesday then?
Tuesday, 6:30.
Okay.
If there are meetings that people, about any of this stuff that people want to try to get other members to attend, I'd be happy to send out a blast to the membership. Sometimes maybe people just don't know about meetings, so they're not getting attended, but if, David, if you know the meeting, let me know and I can just blast it out to everybody, just in
right,
case
so
anyone's
many of these
interested.
meetings do end up being on our website calendar, but also most of them or all of them are on northendwaterfront.com's calendar. So just go to that website
Right.
And they will see every night there's meetings happening on all these
I
kinds of
think it will
issues that are important to us.
helpful if we can start sending a reminder, because sometimes I read North End Waterfront every day, but sometimes I forget to check the calendar, I don't notice that or whatever, and so I think if we got a reminder about some of these things, it would be helpful, and we're going to be better equipped with what Cheryl is working on right now, so.
Isn't there any more meetings regarding the Charlestown Bridge? I don't know video of you saying that. I mean, I just can't believe what they're doing with that Charlestown Bridge. I mean, it's amazing that you can't get over that bridge.
Well,
It's terrible, and they want to make it bigger with no lanes and put bike and paths instead. I mean, who's doing these surveys? I don't know who's doing these surveys.
we were actually talking about having something at one of our meetings on the Charlestown Bridge, because I think, David, I think you were the one who had inquired as to a traffic plan, and they said, well, why would we have that yet? You
Well, this
know,
was,
and
yeah,
it's
this was
been
just a couple of
45
months ago.
Right.
Yeah, we've been hearing about this Charlestown Bridge project for how long now? A couple of years.
So that's
They're
what's
supposed
here.
to start construction in 2017. It's a 3-year construction plan. 2 months ago, I asked, is there a traffic management plan for the reconstruction of that bridge? And they looked at me like I had 3 heads. And they said, well, why would we have that? It's only a 25% design. That was 2 months ago. How can it be a 25% design when they've come to us and shown us all the plans and they're gonna start building next year? So, I don't know what's that
It's
traffic.
currently a 75% design.
Oh, okay,
There
so
was a
now
public-
is there a traffic?
There was a public
management
meeting, was it last month they had the meeting?
Yes, I think it has.
It's at 75%.
Okay, so we're gonna try to get that on the agenda.